Hello, Ryan Zide. Thought I was only going to have to do this once last week, so you're here for that speech. This one's going to be relatively the same. I'm going to say the same thing I did last week. I'm incredibly underqualified to give this speech with the caliber of officer that's in this room, and I'm just going to do my best. To give you an idea where I'm at, I was an employee of the Washington County Sheriff's Office for about 8 years. Recently, as of about 3 weeks ago, left the Sheriff's Office and took other employment. Just want it to be known that people don't quit jobs, they quit employers. I did not leave that job because of the job performed. You know that job going in pretty well. You know what's expected of you. You know what you're going to do. It was never about the job. For me personally, it was the lack of support that I had received and the poor treatment that I and almost every other employee of that sheriff's office received. Enough was enough. I made the decision to protect my family per se and go somewhere where hopefully I'm appreciated and I can provide a better life. With that in mind, I'd like to just go over why it's important to me to speak today and why I think people should take note that I think he said 80 to 90%. I'd say 98 to 100% of Sheriff's Office employees, the actual boots on the ground people, support Greg Nohe. When I say boots on the ground, I'm talking about employees that you call in the middle of the night, someone's trying to break in your house, these people are going to show up. They're not secretaries, they're not in the administration, they're nothing like that. They're going to show up in the middle of the night when you call. These people are giving you a rally cry of support in every way they can to support Greg Nohe. Why is this important? Because the Sheriff's Office has a long history of retaliation. If you spoke out or you disagreed, you got chopped at the block. It was bad. This is the most unified I have ever seen at my time at the Sheriff's Office. It took one man to do it, and that one man is offering something that those officers haven't had in a long time, and that's trust. That not only goes from officer to administration, it goes from civilian to officer. You want to trust when the officer shows up to your house or your call, you can trust them. They're well trained, they're well spoken, and they're very able to handle the situation. For those officers to be able to do that, they have to trust in their administration. Right now, that trust does not exist. I can assure you, because I've been a part of it, the biggest thing on my mind when I would go to a call that had high probability of making the news or something very bad, it's not was I ready for the call, not could I handle the call, not am I trusting the man or lady beside me. It's what Monday morning quarterbacking is going to go on at that office that I'm going to get in trouble for because of who knows who. I explained this in my previous speech. I'll explain it now. Just to give you an idea where I came from, I have no law enforcement background whatsoever. Nobody in my family is in law enforcement. I myself was the first one to get in law enforcement. I didn't have any friends in law enforcement before I got in there. Everything I found out about this job and about the Sheriff's Office came from my own experience there. I've had the opportunity to work under both candidates. And a large majority, if not all, of road officers there have had the same. So everything that I say or they say, they've had a chance to try it both ways. This is not just a random hope of somebody new coming in to fix things. This is not an unknown we're hoping for to just make it better. Everything myself and these other officers are trying to show you comes from experience. On a very light note, I'll give you my three best stories of my interactions, how I came to know Greg Nohe and how I came to respect him and why I believe he's the one for the job. First thing, dropping a prisoner or something off at the jail. Greg Nohe is the jail administrator. Anybody that's ever been an officer going to the jail, you have to check your weapons in to secure storage to enter the jail. Did so, went in, handled my business, came back out, my weapon's missing. Okay, and I promise you as a new officer, just pure panic came over me. Okay, you lose your gun, you're going to lose your job. That's a big deal. I get called into the man's office, Greg Nohe's office. There's strike two. I've lost my gun, and now I'm at the jail administrator's office. What had happened is he had removed my gun to perform a weapons inspection. Never having met me before, doesn't know me from anyone, is ensuring that the standards and professionalism at that office are upheld. Great amount of respect for that. Even greater relief that I did not lose my gun. Second thing, I was in a hands-on altercation with another sergeant at the office in Lowell, Ohio. The gentleman ended up getting tased. In the process, while we're fighting this guy, we hear this vehicle approaching our location, just as rapidly and as loudly as you've ever heard. Somebody was trying to get there, and they were trying to get there fast. Obviously, the radio traffic was crazy when things like that happen. Most of the time it is. Out hops Greg Nohe. He's going to be dressed then very similar to how he's dressed today. He left the jail to come back up officers in need. Now, why that's important to me is because as the jail administrator, you're not tasked with backing up road units. That's not your traditional function. You're also not going to be on the radio as much because the jail operates on their own radio system. So he had the wherewithal, the peace of mind, and the care for his officers to have a radio on, listen, and to show up. He was the closest one, and he was there. He had our backs when we needed it. The third thing, possibly my favorite thing, the funniest story I have, almost every SWAT call out we've ever been on, 3 a.m., 2 a.m., middle of the day, it doesn't matter. Oftentimes Greg Nohe was our driver. He would show up, drive the armored vehicles, and we would ride with him. One of the things I was tasked with as a former deputy, I was a narcotics canine handler, and the dog was also dual purpose, would do bite work. Dogs in the truck, all wound up because of what we're about to do. Greg Nohe's in the front seat, going to take us to our destination, and goes to sit down, sits down in the truck. Everybody's got their gear on. Dog reaches up, wham, bites him on the shoulder, right? This is a problem, right? One, my dog just bit a superior officer. Again, panic. Two, traditionally, if that were to happen, the ramifications are really bad at our office. I'm immediately stressing, I'm going to get in trouble, what's going to happen? I look up, Greg's laughing, right? He gets it. He's one of the guys, he's been there, and he understands that things happen when men are together doing things in unpredictable scenarios, okay? Now, hopefully, never had to happen again. The dog has since retired, and Greg still talks to me, so I consider that a win. Why all this is important, I'm going to wrap this up. I gave you 3 very quick stories, scenarios of Greg backing me up, not knowing me from anyone, right? Keeping me accountable, not knowing me from anyone. I find this very important because I've not ever seen Mark Warden on one of my calls one time ever, nor have I seen him assisting on another officer's call that I've been on or been dispatched to. In my 8 years there, not one time. I find that significant. That builds a lack of trust in our officers. Why else would our officers not trust him? Our most recent example that really bothers me, Mark has accepted support, per se, from defense attorneys. While I don't think defense attorneys are bad people, I don't understand how you can do that being in an adversarial position, right? I likened it last time to the president taking support from the Taliban and letting that be welcome. That's usually probably a pretty bad sign in my book. If you're going to accept that, why? Why would they support someone that's going to make their life tough? If I did a good job, it's because I was wearing defense attorneys out with the number of cases I had, and good cases. To my knowledge, again, 100% of the boots on the ground, 100% support Mark. Greg, correction, that's bad. You can probably prove 98% of this just by looking at their social media alone. We have 170 plus turnover rate, and you got to ask yourself, why is that if you know the nature of the job when you sign up? If you know what it's going to be when you sign up, why have that many people left? I again assure you, it is not the job. It's the administration. It's the lack of leadership. This leads me to my final point. Why support Greg Nohe? And put simply, I can't put it any better, because he's the right man for the job. He's the trust these officers need to do their job right, and he's the trust the civilians need that the officers are going to do their job right. So without anything further, Greg Nohe.